Aid agencies say no life-saving supplies are getting through to Palestinians in Gaza as the region teeters on the brink of starvation. Yesterday, Israel officially ended its 11-month blockade to allow 100 aid trucks across the border. However, agencies say these supplies have yet to reach any of the population. Meanwhile, Taoiseach Micheál Martin says he will demand answers from Israel after Israeli troops fired shots near Irish diplomats visiting the occupied West Bank. Micheál Martin said he was shocked and horrified by the incident. And then in some breaking news this evening, Kneecap's Chara has been charged with a terrorism offence by the Metropolitan Police. The charge is in relation to the flying of a Hezbollah flag. For more on this, I'm joined by Curtis Reid, who's a journalist with the Belfast Telegraph. Curtis, what more can you tell us about this charge?
Yeah, so I think the most interesting thing about the charge is the aspect, like you mentioned, about flying the Hezbollah flag. I mean, those who've been following the controversy that Kneecap have found themselves in for the past few months know about the two pieces of video that emerged last month, one of which showed Kneecap allegedly saying, "Kill your local MP, the only good Tory is a dead Tory," and then the other footage, which is from November 2024, in which allegedly a member shouted "Up Hamas" and "Up Hezbollah." We didn't hear much other than the Metropolitan Police said that they were investigating the video footage. But now they have said that they have charged Chara, who is named in the charge sheet as Liam O'Hannah, as 27 from Belfast. And they have said that he has actually been charged for displaying material belonging to a prescribed organisation, which is illegal to support in the UK, namely a flag. So what we can gather from the charge is that that was allegedly a Hezbollah flag, and therefore he has been charged, and that the Met Police are going to take him to court.
And what might be the outcome of that, Curtis, if that court case doesn't go his way? How serious a charge is it?
I mean, it is a very serious charge. I mean, we'll start off with logics. You know, Kneecap, like most musical artists, rely heavily on touring. A charge, of, displaying support for a prescribed organisation banned in the UK is obviously going to have detrimental effects on Kneecap's ability to tour, not least in the United States, but across Europe. They're very popular in the United States. They have a significant tour upcoming there at the end of the summer. That's going to have massive an impact on their visa applications to be able to get in there. Well, obviously just Chara's and Liam's ability to get into the United States. But in terms of, the actual impact of the charge and the seriousness of the charge with their fan base, I think this sort of plays into what Kneecap have always said, in regards to their anti-establishment messaging. I can't foresee many fans turning against them because of these charges. In fact, I think they'll just gain more fans from this. It's exactly the type of messaging that they have put forward in terms of, everything is a conspiracy, and, that people are out to get them, and their fans love them for that. And I think that this just plays into that.
Curtis Reid, thank you very much. I suspect he's right, Owen, that we'll hear the same kind of rhetoric as we heard when this story emerged a few weeks ago, that there's kind of political motivations to all of this. I mean, just setting that aside for a moment, on a personal level for these lads, and they are young lads, whatever you think about what they said, this is really, really serious stuff. And you're talking about utterly upending, their livelihoods.
I have to say, as a fan of the band, somebody who's seen them live a number of times and has some sense of their view of the world, I don't think that's what they're thinking tonight. They are thinking, like most ordinary people, that on the one hand, you have this ongoing genocide playing out in real time on our TVs, radios and social media. You have a British government, along with the US and other European governments, who are actively aiding and abetting in this war crime, to the provision of weapons and intelligence. You have a humanitarian crisis unfolding on a scale that even 6 months ago nobody thought was possible. And somehow Liam is being charged for waving a flag, stupidly in my view, but waving a flag, as if somehow he's the terrorist. Like, people need to get a sense of perspective here. Was it right to wave the flag? In my view, no, it wasn't, right? Was it right to make some of the comments they made previously? No, and they've apologised for those, but they are not the story. They are not the people who day and daily are committing genocide.
I suspect most people agree with you. The Metropolitan Police, their hands were probably tied once a complaint had been made and the evidence was there. You know what I mean? They don't have the discretion to say.
Let's be very clear. Just like the persecution of Gary Lineker for sharing a completely innocuous and very sensible piece of video on what's going on in Palestine over decades.
Well, it did have an anti-Semitic element.
I'm sorry.
The picture of the rat. So the video underneath the picture of the rat was... I don't think anyone would have a problem with.
Let's be very clear. Gary Lineker shared the content of the video.
Gary Lineker himself says, I accept that there was an anti-Semitic element to the rat being used.
The woman who spoke in the video spoke eminent sense. But here's what's happening.
Why was there a picture of a rat?
Any prominent person...
Why was there a picture of a rat?
Any prominent person who takes a strong stand against the genocide is subject to a campaign of unrelenting harassment. And very clearly, Gary Lineker is not the story. Kneecap are not the story. Genocide is the story. And until we stop the genocide, and domestically, the Irish government has had a better position than many European governments. But now is the time to do more. We need to move on the Occupied Territories Bill. We need to move on the war bonds or the Genocide Bonds Bill that Pierce Doherty and Mary Lou McDonald are introducing next week. Irish diplomats are being shot at. Irish diplomats are being shot at by a government who is seen as an ally of the US, of Britain, and we're here talking about a controversialist rap band who did something at a concert last year. A sense of perspective is pretty crucial here, given what's happening on the ground in the West Bank, Gaza, and the Middle East.
It's hard to disagree with any of that, really, isn't it?
No, look, I mean, genocide is the story, and what's happening is morally reprehensible, no question about that. I suppose the world is in a dangerous place. The world is very fragile at the moment, and actions and words do matter, particularly people with a strong public profile. So I think this sends out a very strong message, that words and actions do matter. I don't know a whole lot about Kneecap. And look, I suppose there is a distinction between...
Not a fan, no? HOOD?
It's not that I'm not a fan, I just don't know a whole lot about them.
Haven't had a chance.
But, there is a distinction between a charge and a conviction, and let's see what plays out in respect of that process. Actions and words do matter.
The shooting at those diplomats today, I mean, that was utterly remarkable. It just gives a sense of the impunity with which the IDF think they can operate.
No, absolutely.
They knew exactly who they were shooting at.
And look, there seems to be a new law every day in this conflict and this humanitarian crisis that is, at epic scale at this stage. It's so significant, and there was a strong debate in the Dáil today about it. I listened carefully to the contributions across the floor from the Taoiseach na Tánaiste and the opposition leaders and others, and there was very strong language. I think Ireland, to be fair, has stood out there in terms of our strong position on this, and with Spain and Norway last year, we were one of the first states to recognise the state of Palestine, for example. But we need to do more, and I accept that. I totally accept that, and there will be a conference in June in the United Nations in New York, and Ireland will play an active role, and that will be co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia.
Owen, probably little solace to people in Gaza tonight, or people who are cleared out of that camp in Jenin that the diplomats were visiting today. But do you get a sense that more people in the international community, more countries are coming around to our way of thinking? I just thought it's interesting. The Israelis have now accused the French, the Canadians and the British of being anti-Semitic. They accused their own opposition party of being anti-Semitic yesterday. Of
course, and anybody who opposes genocide and the war crimes of the government of Israel is accused of
anti-Semitic. There does seem to be a mounting pressure, doesn't there?
It is far too slow. So, for example, next Tuesday, there is an opportunity in the Oireachtas for us to take a further step. Most people out there will be shocked to hear that when the government of Israel is raising money for what they themselves called war bonds, raising debt, which then will be used to fund bombs that are raining down on human beings in Gaza and the West Bank, that it is done through the Irish Central Bank. When Pierce Doherty raised this with the governor of the Central Bank, he said he was powerless to do anything without ministerial intervention. When Pierce raised it with the Minister for Finance, his initial position was nothing I can do, the Central Bank is independent. Pierce Doherty got legal advice from the Oireachtas Parliamentary Legal Advice Service to say that legislation could be introduced to make it very clear the Irish government can direct the Central Bank to stop those war bonds, genocide bonds being sold through Ireland. That needs to happen. Small but significant steps.
Would you support that legislation?
Well, the government is considering its position on that, and we had a parliamentary party meeting tonight, and that issue came up, and look...
Was there support expressed at the meeting for it?
That is under consideration, and I respect it as a significant proposal from Sinn Féin, and I respect that there has been a lot of research done on it. The Central Bank is independent of government. It is important to make that distinction. But look, let's see what unfolds in terms of the next week, in terms of the government's position on that.
But it's certainly something to consider.
On the Occupied Territories Bill, we did learn tonight that there will be an update brought to Cabinet next week, which I think is very significant. I only got elected at the end of the year last year, and this was something that came up strongly at the doors, and I would like to see the government move on this. So I welcome very much that there is an update coming on that next week.
Well, listen, that's it from us. I'm back on the radio and News Talk tomorrow at 4. This programme available as a podcast on all major platforms, and we're on social media tonight via MTV. From all the day team here, good night, take care.